Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says he feels like he's being thrown under the bus by President Trump. He made those comments in an op-ed published today in USA Today. The lifelong Republican says he voted for President Trump in what he calls, quote, a wildly successful and smooth election in Georgia. The embattled elections chief facing a great deal of pressure from his own party, both inside and outside Georgia, to accommodate the growing demands of the president and his allies in the Peach State. Raffensperger alluded to that pressure in his USA Today editorial, writing of the post-election atmosphere in Georgia. In part, here's some of it. He says, quote, a losing presidential campaign refused to accept the facts following a playbook written by a failed gubernatorial candidate 2 years before. We will have reaction to the Secretary of State's editorial tonight at 5 and 6. And to read Raffensperger's full comments, head on over to 11alive.com.